Hello, Sonali. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Katrina. I'm super excited to be here all the way from Hong Kong, and you're in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. I love the use of modern technology that we can connect like this. So I'm delighted to have found out about you fairly recently, even though you've been doing some amazing things. You're a wonderful serial entrepreneur in the sustainability field, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But you've got a very diverse professional background. I think you've managed a fashion retail store, international wealth management at a major bank. You've done risk and research analysis and digital marketing and publishing. And of course, now you're the founder and editor-in-chief of Green Queen, which is a fantastic platform. I think it's Asia's largest English-speaking plant-based media platform. And you also the founder and CEO of Ekowarehouse, which we'll talk about a little as well. But first of all, I always like to ask people, what is the why? So what are your reasons for doing what you do now? And just talk us through a little bit about how you kind of ended up here in this sector.
Absolutely. So I think from my what is why is probably a little bit different than how I ended up here. But basically, I feel there are so many things in the world that need fixing. And I feel that in sort of the quote that kind of best defines my day-to-day is the only way out of darkness is to serve those without choices or voices.
Oh, I like that.
So that's sort of my motto, and that's what I practice. So I feel that I get out of bed every day with a purpose to really create impact for those who need it the most, because I feel that I have many privileges in life. I'm educated, I have a wonderful family, I'm safe, I have food and shelter that is consistent, and I have a duty to serve those that don't. And that for me is the only way to fight what would otherwise probably cause me severe depression, which is the awareness of everything that hurts in the world, whether it's our broken food system or, the rampant human rights abuse that is everywhere, or the fact that, sometimes it just feels like everyone is incredibly selfish and we need to be kinder and better. And so the only way I know how to find my way is to serve. And I do that the best way I know how, which is through business and through now media. And to answer the second part of your question, it all started because of health problems, right. Which I feel is quite a cliche in the health and wellness world, and maybe this is stated around, but basically I spent many years from when I was a teenager to when I was about 25 that with very chronic health conditions that allopathic medicine were not able to fix. And so eventually I had to sort myself out. I happen to have two illnesses that are not curable. So I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and I have
I've got that as well.
So yeah. And I have endometriosis as well. And so both of these are diseases that don't have a cure. Pharmaceutical companies are not interested because they can't sell us a drug. They affect women disproportionately more than men, which means less research, less money, less attention. And they require a ton of kind of lifestyle management, which I didn't know at the time, and it took me years to get diagnosed, and it took me decades for doctors to take me seriously. And as such, I have a very, I feel, fairly founded mistrust of doctors. And I do often feel like they're not there for you, especially as a female patient. At the same point in time, I feel doctors play an incredibly important role, and I respect them greatly, especially right now. But I had this sort of very difficult journey with my health and all these things, because a lot of these lifestyle diseases and these hormone-based diseases, they make life very difficult without being life-threatening. So of course it's hard to get people to understand. It's hard to get, it's hard to tell someone, well, I can't work for 3 days because I can't move. Oh, what's wrong? Well, the pain is so excruciating, I literally can't move. And you can't show people a scar, and there's no wound. So it just becomes very difficult. So that led me down the path of, I'm going to figure this out myself. And that's when I started looking, after hours and hours of research. I'm sort of a research nerd by nature. I started to find the whole food connection. And I come from a family that has always cooked. My grandmother in Delhi is famous for her cooking. My mother's an incredible cook. We always eat at home. So the issue wasn't processed food so much, but really I started to understand that what I ate was really important to managing how I felt. And then after that, I went into, well, it's not just what I eat, it's how it was grown and how it was produced. And that led me down the path of understanding that actually how our food is produced has effects on the ocean, the soil, the air that we breathe. And then it's not just what I'm eating, it's the products I'm using, the paint on my walls, the detergent in my laundry machine. And that's just, it just kind of dominoed into everything.
And why did you move into media? Because there's lots of things you could have become a health coach or what have you. What drew you to starting an impact media platform?
So when I discovered all this stuff, I changed how I lived. And so at the time, this is almost 10 years ago in Hong Kong, it was really difficult to make certain choices, to live. I went through a phase where I was raw vegan, gluten-free, all of this, tried everything, just to see what would work. And all of these lifestyle choices were difficult. And then I wanted to start eating only organic. And before I was plant-based, I wanted to eat only kind of wild seafood and humane meat and all that. And all of this was really difficult to find and difficult to procure. So I ended up creating this list of what I called my little green book. And eventually I thought, well, other people might need this. So that's how Green Queen was born. I just decided to share it as a blog with a list of kind of, oh, this is where I found this is where I found this, and this is a cute restaurant where you can find this chef and she's making everything from scratch, and this is an organic farm I love, and that's how it started. And there was absolutely no plan to have a media company or be in media. I didn't even use the word media. I just thought, oh, I have a blog, and I didn't really think about it much, kept on with my day job. And then a couple of years later, when my co-founder and I decided to create Ekowarehouse, which is also born from my desire to make safe food more accessible to businesses, because I do believe I'm a pragmatist. I don't know if that's because I grew up surrounded by the Cantonese, who are an incredibly practical-minded people. I feel that business can help create change, and I feel like we need big-scale change. We don't need tiny little pockets. We also need big movements. And so I felt that for me, it does come down a little bit to economics and business and choices for consumers and businesses. And so the impetus to launch Ekowarehouse was, okay, I really, really believe in this organic agricultural stuff. I think that organic agriculture is a huge net positive to the world, both from a human side and animal side and just like a nature environment side. And so I want to make it more accessible, because at the time when I started, organic food was a very small industry and very, very expensive. So the only way I could think of to make it more accessible and make it easier for people to source organic was to create this platform where you could find all the organic suppliers in the world.
Got it.
So when we went on the journey to launch that, we looked at my Green Queen blog and we realized that actually I had amassed a small but dedicated and consistent following, and that I actually turned out I had a quite good SEO for a lot of terms. And of course, 2 years after I started, there had started to be more of a movement towards health and nutrition. And it's quite interesting to think about the evolution of kind of sustainability and health, because I would say if I look at what my readers wanted in 2013, they wanted everything to do with health and nutrition. Right? It was all about my personal health and how do I improve. Whereas today we've moved towards, no, I need to know how I can lessen my impact on the planet.
Brilliant. I love that. So I love how you've Yeah, explain that. And I love that it grew out of a blog and that you had no plans for this. I think that's always nice for people to hear, because sometimes people think, oh, you've got to have this exact, vision and business plan. And sometimes the most successful things do come out of happening organically, pun intended. So tell us a little bit about the challenges then when you first started to set up Green Queen as a media outlet, and also with Ekowarehouse. Talk us through some of your initial challenges and how you overcame them.
Sure, of course. So if we look at Green Queen, when we decided, so in basically in early 2014, we saw the numbers. We realized Green Queen had amassed a following, and we realized that there was something there. And even though I never wanted a career in media, if you look at my childhood, it kind of makes sense. I started a magazine when I was 8 years old in primary school. I used to print it out at my mom's office on a photocopy. And then when I was in high school later, I was an editor on the school paper. And I started a magazine called Peace of Mind that was all about ethical issues, especially around the Free Tibet movement, because that was very big in the late 90s when I was in high school. So I think there was always something there about me in publishing, but for some reason I never thought about it professionally. But so when we saw that Green Queen had traction, we thought, okay, blogs are great, but to be honest, I wanted to have more than just my voice. I wanted to create something. That's when I really thought, okay, let's transition it to a media. Let's commit to a newsletter every week with new content every week. And at the time, that was just 3 articles a week. That was the best I could do. And let's start looking really at what people want and expand our coverage to really showing, what's going on in food, what's going on in beauty. Like, what does a life that is greener and kinder and healthier look like? And let's provide news and resources and guides. And as I mentioned earlier, that was really related around health. So the challenges included, I had never run a social media page. I had never written 3 articles a week. I remember one of the biggest challenges at the time was, how do we get a photo that looks nice for the article? And how do we not pay for it? Mm-hmm. And not have to and how do we do interviews, without taking up so much time? Because we had our day job, which was, building Ekowarehouse. So the challenge was really like, how do we learn all these tools? I also had to learn more about WordPress, and I had to learn about branding, and I had to learn about, using MailChimp and how Facebook pages worked. And then came Instagram, which I personally found really challenging. I'm more of a words person. I'm not a natural born photographer.
Same. Yeah.
And I still like to read. I know it's super old fashioned, but I like reading. And so just kind of the big challenge was learning everything. And really also spending a ton of time on SEO and data, which I loved, but I was learning, like using Google Analytics, using Search Console, trying to understand, okay, what are people searching for? What can we provide them? Because we had 0 marketing budget and we had 0 team. So this is something we were doing almost on the side as a hobby. And then the biggest challenge was really learning how to think of it as a business, because I always saw it as this side thing. And then I started getting speaking opportunities. And then we created the first health and wellness kind of a farmer's market in Hong Kong called Made in Hong Kong. And we reunited all the local artisans in the space that were doing raw vegan and plant-based and all of this juices and all that. And that really put us on the map. And that really grew our email database. And that's when things really took off. And so all of this stuff, it wasn't something I knew how to do, but Green Queen just kept getting bigger. And it took me about 2 years to really go, wait, I'm not just running Ekowarehouse, I'm running 2 businesses.
Right.
I was really reluctant to assume that title.
Interesting. Now, it's interesting, we were talking about running it as a business, monetizing, and I know you and I were having a bit of a chat before we did this recording. Monetizing of media can be quite challenging because people expect free content, so it can be quite tricky to have, the paywall and what have you. So how have you managed to monetize Green Queen? I mean, I believe you have some advertising slots available on the website. Are there any other ways that you monetize?
So that was another big learning curve, is because we didn't launch it with that. It was both a good thing and kind of a learning curve that we didn't launch it with this idea to make money, because as a result, the content turned out to be incredibly informative and authentic and real, because we weren't going, well, this is what advertisers are going to like. And I didn't come from a media publishing background, so I didn't have that little kind of what would an advertiser like demon sitting on my shoulder. And so, but we immediately started getting people writing and saying, hey, how can we work with you? And can you send us your media kit? And I, didn't even know what a media kit was. Had to Google it and then spend the next 2 days frantically creating a media kit. Obviously now our media kit is produced by our in-house designer, who's amazing. But at the time I was really, just making it up and really trying to figure out, okay, well, we have this much traffic. And the other thing is we were just we were so honest, because we were so green in the industry. And I was very, I'm going to tell the truth about how many followers I had, and I'm not going to inflate anything. And so I had no idea the value of that. Right. And if I'm really honest, one of the reasons I think I didn't assume the Green Queen Media title more or earlier and take it more seriously as a business is because I think I had kind of internalized this messaging that isn't as big now, but at the time, it's almost 10 years ago, that, a woman in lifestyle media is not serious, which is not true at all.
Yeah.
But I had internalized this kind of messaging.
Yeah.
And, now I'm really angry at myself that I internalized it, because now I'm incredibly proud of having built an independent media company with no money, no staff, and now, we have even major investors that write to me all the time reading our content. So it's just, but I didn't take it as seriously as I should have.
I love that. I think that's really important for people to hear that. I love that. I love that you're being honest about this kind of thing.
And I really don't want to come across like I think there's anything wrong with being in media, because I actually now love my job so much and it's brought everything to my life. But I just didn't give myself the respect, and I didn't give the space the respect that it should have. Because, there's this kind of and for many years, people just kept referring to it as a blog. Mm-hmm. And now today I correct people and I go, we're not a blog, we're a media platform. It's not my voice on there. It's, I'm the editor. There's a difference. But, there's this kind of, I don't know if I were a man, if I would have had the same kind of put down effect. But so that's really where the challenge came. But one day it really just clicked. I started to get much bigger advertisers. Companies from Australia started to contact me. I started to get speaking opportunities in major forums. Corporates wanted me to come see them. And this is, without even trying to be a speaker, it just happened. And I think people really started to associate me with as a real kind of expert, which, I'm a lifelong learner. There's no expert, but that is when I realized, wait, this is really, I built something here. And now I do feel there is a certain kind of, and I don't know if this is just, pride speaking, but I do feel a little bit of, I actually saw a lot of this stuff coming. We started writing about zero waste 7 years ago. We wrote about new wave foods, Beyond Meat and Impossible in 2016, before really there had been any mass media about it.
Yeah. So in terms of the monetization, so I know that you say that the majority of your content, even now, is purely editorial. So you judge your pitches based on their editorial merit. Whereas, we're seeing a trend in other media for branded content or sponsored content. So how do you, and obviously that by that, I mean that a company or a brand pays to have an article written and shared on social media, etc. Yeah, exactly. We used to call it advertorial. I think they've renamed it now, haven't they? But yeah, effectively
native content. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So is it literally mainly then advertising that kind of pays for or makes Green Queen sustainable?
No, we we call them featured articles, and we list them as partner posts. So we do have those. They are a very small percentage of our total volume, but they do help. And because we have incredibly strong SEO, that's usually the most requested feature. But here's how we try to differentiate. Many brands come to us and say, hey, I want to submit my content. We don't do that. You can't submit your content. We have to write the article. And we have to be clear on, there has to be an editorial angle even for a featured article. Yeah. And we work with the client because it is incredibly important for us to not lose our audience by being inauthentic. And we know our audience best. We know our numbers best. So we can say to the client, listen, this is, the format of the article that we think would work. This is how to approach the subject. We usually do sort of a pre-interview with the client to kind of gauge where can we come in to really provide value for the reader while still obviously disclosing that it is a paid client. The other thing is we say no to a lot of people. So about once a day, I get a pitch about, leather or meat. There's this one PR lady. She will not stop sending me press releases about lobster and steak.
Oh, no.
I've asked her to stop. I've told her, we only cover plant-based. That's another major decision we made that other people I think would have struggled to make, is that about 2-3 years ago, we said, we're no longer going to cover seafood and meat and dairy. That's it. Nice. It's done.
Wow. That was a bold move. That was a bold move, especially for an existing business. I love that. And
we what I basically said to myself is I said, look, there's enough media that cover meat, seafood, and dairy. We're going to be different. And that cost us for sure. I would say I didn't look at it that way, but for sure it cost us advertisers, because we had a big niche as a place for people to come to find where to get, sustainable seafood and humane beef and antibiotic-free chicken. But it was a decision that really mirrored my journey. And when I educated myself, as I said, I'm a lifelong learner. I learn more every day. When I realized that actually, I don't think I really believe there is sustainable seafood. I think all seafood is a serious problem. I don't really think we should be eating beef at all. I don't think that eggs are acceptable based on how they're, when I realized all those things, I just felt, well, I can't feel that and then be promoting it.
Got it. In terms of growing it, you mentioned it started out as you, and now you've got a team. How did you know when to hire your first paid, say, writer or member of staff, and then on from that? Like, how do you know you were ready? Because obviously staff costs, can be quite a drain on a business. That can be quite a large expense for a company, and particularly, a media company. So how did you kind of know you were ready and to kind of build
That's a great question. I'm not sure if it's a really good question, because I struggled with it for years for two reasons. One, because I was not sure. I wasn't totally sure what my next plan was. And so what most people don't know is until a year ago, it was just me.
Really? Wow.
Okay. Wow. And then what happened is,
but you had other writers though, didn't you? Or were you writing all the content?
I had one part-time writer.
Oh, one time. Okay.
But she was part-time. But I did not have anyone in social. I hired my first person last year. She was going to do. She's an incredible member of the team. We have a very small team. There's actually only 3 of us that work on Green Queen, as well as one fellow who's been with me for many years, who helps me sometimes with the tech. But otherwise, it's myself, Sally, the writer, and Anna, who she's our community manager, and she also helps with sales, and she also does design, because she just loves design and is amazing. That's it. That's it. It's just the 3 of us. So it's a small team, because that's what I believe in, paying people.
Yeah.
I don't believe in gig workers. And to be honest, I just don't believe in it.
So they're employees then? They're not like freelance contractors? Wow, okay.
Nope. They are employees. They have benefits. They have paid annual leave. They get raises. We celebrate their birthdays. Like, they are part of the family, and they have job security, and they are not commission based. So they feel like, a lot of media here, what they do is they don't pay any base salary. It's all commission. So wow. For example, in the past 3 months, you would have had people with no earnings.
Gosh.
I'm not comfortable with that. I mean, I'm barely comfortable with an intern and I feel like I will only take on an intern if I feel like we can provide them incredible learning opportunities, and we'll cover food and transportation or something like that. But I don't see why people should work for free.
Wow.
And I'm not going to fight for ethics in the media if I'm not going to provide that.
I love that. So do they work from home remotely then, or are they come to work in your office?
No. We have an office. Obviously, for the last 3 months, there has been a lot more working from home. So we were actually working in the office right up until the middle of March when the second wave hit. And then there was a big push in Hong Kong for everyone to work from home if they could. So they worked from home. And then last 2 weeks, we've been back in the office because it's safe to do so. But I also have a very flexible arrangement. So one of our team members really prefers to work at home. So she stays mostly at home and comes in only once or twice. So for me, and for example, she has a different time zone, not time zone. She wakes up at 4 a.m. So she finishes early. So I really believe in flexibility. I believe in giving people the space, the tools, and the kind of support they need to provide for them to work their best.
So how did you decide then you were ready to take on, especially now I know they're employees as well, how did you, because that's a big decision to make.
Yeah. So first of all, the other part of that decision is that for years, I really struggled to find people who I felt were good writers, and not just good writers, but had the same writing values as I do, which is a ton of research rather than just recycled content. Someone who is going to have that fair and ethics-minded approach. So I really wanted to find someone that had the same kind of investigative ethics kind of side that I have, which is like, whose agenda is this? And, what's going on here? And what's the framing of the story? And are we framing it right? And what do we get when we share this? Rather than just kind of, these are 5 reasons to be vegan, which there's enough of that. And that's great. We need that. We need that type of content. But what was really missing for me is content that was really smart and real and long form and researched and backed up by facts as best as we could find them. And that was really, I felt missing in the Asian media landscape in English for sustainability and health. I felt that sustainability and health were very kind of packaged with a bow in a lifestyle way. And I wanted a reporting way to do it. And so it was kind of also chance because Sally kind of found me. So she actually begged me for an internship. And the first time I said no. Yes, it's true. Because I just thought, well, I can't take on an intern and, she doesn't have any actual experience. She's young. And then she came back and she said, look, let me give it a go. And I assigned her first story and she came back and I just called her. I know, I remember I told my husband that day, I said, I found the person. This woman is meant to be a writer. She's meant to be a reporter. She's the one.
Yeah. So in terms of once you made that decision, it was more or less kind of looking at, okay, this is the income that's coming in. I can afford to hire this full-time staff member.
It was scary because I had hired the community and marketing manager, and this was going to be the second hire. And I just thought, but the good news is when I made the decision that I was going to hire Sally, it was in March and she was finishing up at London School of Economics. And so she wasn't going to be able to start till August. So I got a few months to prepare and to get my situation on. But I will say this, Green Queen has always made money. And very honestly, it has made money without ever having a dedicated salesperson. We have always had everyday inquiries to work with us. We don't say yes to everything because as I said, we wouldn't work, but, and not all the inquiries pan out, but
that's interesting. And you think that's mainly because of your strong SEO predominantly? That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we receive early on, we were basically getting 3 million digital impressions a month on Google search.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that doesn't mean we had 3 million visitors. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
But that type of, I think people don't realize what that branding can do for you. But there really was this association that, okay, Green Queen, climate change, Green Queen, plant-based, Green Queen, vegan, Green Queen, sustainability, Green Queen, wellness. And so it self-selected people.
I'm just curious how you managed to do Green Queen and Ekowarehouse, which is like its own thing. And obviously there's a membership involved for the suppliers that want to be involved in that. But curious how you managed to do both?
Well, I mean, I think I'm a severe workaholic. So I won't lie about that. I'm not someone who's going to say to you, oh, I only work from 10 to 4 and then the rest of the time I'm with my family. No. I work when, I get up, spend some time I have a little son. He's 19 months, spend a little time with him. And then it's like to work right away and then come home maybe between 6 and 7, spend time with him, have dinner, maybe go for a walk. And then I work all the way till midnight. And then, and that also involves reading, because you cannot do what I do and not read a ton. That's really important. So yeah, I'm a workaholic. I have systems. I have an incredible team. I really do think it's all about having systems. And I'm kind of one of those people that feels like the more busy you are, the more you accomplish.
Okay.
I don't know if you feel that.
Yes and no. In the past, because I've had, when I left the dream job that I had, the GFC hit, and I was let go. And it really impacted my identity, and, I was devastated. So I immediately started this media outlet myself. I called it The Scavenger, and it was basically, stories that you won't otherwise hear. And it was mainly kind of social justice. So I was doing full-time freelancing. Then I would come home, have my dinner, then I would work on this. But I did that for about 2 years straight, and I ended up completely burnt out, stressed, relationship wasn't working. So I know with me, I can be a bit of an all or nothing. So yes, I think I think what it is I think over a long period, it's not necessarily sustainable unless you're doing some kind of self-care.
So I will say that what I didn't do before and I do now is the weekends are off.
Right.
And I was kind of forced to do that because of the baby,
Yeah.
and wanting to spend time with him. But before that, it wasn't so good.
Same with
me.
Yeah.
Also, cut out all the crap. In media, you can spend a lot of time going to events and meetings and coffees and lunches. And I have to say, the main reason I can do so many things, I think, is because I don't do any of that.
Nice. That's good.
I'm really disciplined. I sit at my desk as much as possible. And now a meeting or even a media opportunity or a talk, it has to be valuable. It has to be advancing the cause. It has to have a purpose. But, just having coffee to talk about sustainability is something I'm not interested in that. Not because it could potentially be a great conversation, but I think what I didn't do when I started this journey, because I was immature and younger and had a lot to learn. But what I'm really good about doing now is being very good at saying no. I'm very comfortable saying no, which I wasn't for years. Yeah. For years. As a woman, and I felt like I had to be nice and polite, and I felt like it was rude to say no to people. That took me a really long time and it was other women in the industry or that I interacted with that were really strict. I remember the first time this woman said, okay, she sent me a Calendly link as a way to make a meeting. And at first I went, oh my God, that's so aggressive. This was 5-6 years ago. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then I thought, no, this is fierce. She is respecting her time. She is valuing herself. And I wasn't doing that. I was just feeling like I had to say yes because, oh, look, it's so nice that someone's taken an interest. And that's just ridiculous rubbish.
I hear you. I hear you.
And then the other thing that always saves me is that I'm secretly an introvert. I like to be by myself reading and researching. Mm-hmm. And I don't really like going to many big parties. And I don't think I could work in PR and go to all the events. That's just, I just don't have that personality.
Yeah.
And so I think if you cut out all the hours you spend at events and at meetings, you can actually get a lot done.
Exactly, for sure. So just to wrap up, final couple of questions. So you said a lot of or the majority of your content is editorial based. Now, as we both know, having worked in journalism for a long time, there are good pitches and there are bad pitches. So tell me, what do you look for in a pitch that makes you say yes to running a story?
That's a really good question. I think I take a little bit of a view that it's the topic. So a lot of what is pitched to me is very advertorially. So it feels very much like a sale. Yeah. That is not interesting to me. Then I move you to our marketing team. And then of course I get told there's no budget, whatever. Yeah. But I will not be used to promote someone's product that they should be paying for if they really want to promote and sell their product. So I don't want the article to feel like I'm selling. So that's what I look for in a pitch, is something that is, well, here's how I look at the content on Green Queen. I call it the 50-50 split of the bad and the good. So the bad is all the news, right? Of like how the world is and what's broken and all the problems and kind of the air pollution and the climate crisis and the broken food system. And I find that to be a very important part of what we do. And I definitely have had discussions with people where they say, oh, but it's all about being positive. And if you give people, the facts, they'll just feel, no, I'm not going to dumb down reality for you. And I trust that people who are engaged with the world want to know the facts and the bad facts. I mean, the ugly facts. But the other 50% of what I'm doing is providing inspirational, empowering content that is either featuring change makers, founders, solutions, like an app that allows you to, plant a tree every time you buy something online. For me, that doesn't feel like a sale if I'm talking to you about that app. Whereas if I'm just telling you, you should buy this handbag because it's green, that feels like a sale.
Got it.
So I really, I don't want stuff that feels like a sale. I want, if you want to pitch me your founder, are you willing to have a real interview where we can ask a lot of questions? Or is this some kind of scripted thing? Because I don't want to be used that way.
Nice.
And I will say we have a long way to go on good pitches here in Asia.
I think we do in the West as well. Trust me.
Really, I don't have as much experience there, but I just sometimes feel like you've got to get the commercial. And the irony is, if the pitches were more kind of topical, they would probably get more coverage anyway.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, just like we don't want to click on the sponsored link on a Google search, we want to click on the SEO organic link. It's the same. I was reading a fascinating article yesterday that was saying that people now look at web pages and cancel out the banners.
Interesting.
Their eyes just don't see it anymore because they've just become inured to too much advertising. So they cut it out visually.
Yeah.
And they're able to kind of measure that. I don't know the details, but that's what's happening. And so I would much rather just really work on we say that at Green Queen, we inform, we inspire, and we empower in that order. So we inform you with what's going on. We empower you to feel connected to the main issues beneath the informative content. And then we inspire you by offering kind of guides and resources and solutions. And, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people to go, oh, I'm going to change my behavior. Oh, I'm going to change my office behavior. Oh, I'm going to go and try and work in the field because I want to do something good for the planet. That's what I'm trying to do. That's why I say that we're impact media. We're not just news media.
Nice. I like that. Wonderful. I love that. And some very good tips there. That's basically what I teach people as well. It's like, take off your business owner hat. It's not a journalist's job to do PR for you. That's your publicist's job. But so those are really good tips. I'm glad if people will hear that. So finally, tell us about your long-term vision then, both for yourself and for your brands.
So we're at a very exciting moment for Ekowarehouse, because after a bit of kind of reshuffling, I've started to work with a new partner, and we're just going for fundraising because we really want to pivot to be e-com B2B rather than just matching. And we're going to be expanding into all green products. Wow. So we really want to become the destination. Right now, we already are the place where people go to look for organic suppliers, but we want to be the place where people go to look for bio and plant packaging, for reusables, for plant-based, all verified and certified and kind of in-house checked, which is our MO with Ekowarehouse. And I'm not looking to do everything. I'm looking to do the best quality stuff that can be trusted. So that's exciting. So we're literally about to start on that fundraising journey now, and we're putting together an incredible advisory board and just really going for it. So that's going to be a whole new chapter and really take me big into the Ekowarehouse world. And then I think with Green Queen, about when Sally joined and when I started hiring the team, that's when I also made the decision that, okay, we want to be Asia-wide. We want to start really having a much bigger volume of content, and we want to increase our numbers. And so that's really been working. So now we're at 1.5 million readers a quarter, which is huge increase since January. Now the numbers are getting quite big and good, like numbers that really are meaningful, which means that we can make more impact. And so now the question is, what's going to be our identity going forward? And we've been playing with that for the last few months, and some of the stuff we've been doing is really paying off. So it takes a while. Once you go from producing 20 articles a month to over 100, it takes a while for that to really become, for the fruits of that labor to pay off. And that's finally happening now.
For sure. Has Green Queen, just finally, how has Green Queen been funded, and also Ekowarehouse? Is it through investors, or has it literally been organic through the advertising?
So Green Queen has, as I said, from the beginning, other than our time, which was never accounted for, which you should always account for your time. But so that part was just, I gave my time, and I still do for Green Queen. But Green Queen has always been able to survive off advertising, and then events. We do events. We have a very popular, obviously they're all on hold.
Yeah.
But we have, for example, we have an amazing UN SDG plant-based dinner series, which we started. So we've done 5. So it's whereby we work with a restaurant that's an omni restaurant, and we challenge them to create a vegan menu. And then we invite an NGO that is working on a specific SDG to give a short 20-minute talk to the guests before they eat. And so we combine raising awareness about SDGs, highlighting local NGOs, and convincing restaurants that they have a market that they're not hitting, which is the vegans and the plant-based people. And out of all 5 events were sold out. And 3 of the restaurants actually created permanent vegan menus as a result.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that.
So we were supposed to have our next one in January. We tried to move it to February, and then we realized, okay, it's not happening.
Yeah.
With Green Queen, we also launched into a new side, which is Green Queen Biz, which is our B2B side for Green Queen. So it's a membership sustainability community. You could look at it kind of like a sustainability chamber of commerce. And so we reunite businesses now in Hong Kong, but starting to look at Asia, where we kind of bring them together, provide personalized matchmaking, help them connect with corporates. The whole point is the UN SDG partnerships, UN SDG 17, the goal for partnerships for the goals. So how do we help advance the goals? By getting these startups and SMEs the connections and matches they need with bigger corporates who are also looking for solutions, but they're basically not finding each other. So we created this platform. So we have an app, and we have 30 members. This just started in January, and it's really doing well. And I have a special team. One of my colleagues, Igel, she runs that. So she's in charge of all that.
Wow.
But for Ekowarehouse, it was my savings. It was funded by me. And now with what we want to do, we're going out for a seed round.
Amazing. Wonderful. Wow. So impressed with everything you're doing. And you shared some wonderful tips. And I really love your honesty. I think, sometimes when people see successful people, kind of, doing their dream jobs and being they sort of just think, oh, it's easy, or, they must have had a plan and all the rest of it. Whereas I love that you've been honest about where you come from. And yes, sometimes you've got to be a workaholic and everything. So been really wonderful speaking with you, Sonalie. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be honest and really share. I really value it.